Yeah. What would your salary expectations be for this position?
Oh, I don't really have like an expectation per se. Like for me, compensation's about more than salary. So I'd love to just continue talking about this position. And if it feels like the right fit, then I'm really confident we can figure out a salary and a sort of a compensation package that'll feel good for both of us.
Right. Well, we're going to need a number from you before we move forward. We certainly don't want to move forward in this process if we can't meet your expectations.
So I think this is a very common standoff that happens in job negotiations, right? Who names the number first? And there's definitely conventional wisdom that says you always want them to name the number first. But as it turns out, that is not always the case. Hi, my name is Stacey Vanek Smith. I am a longtime business and economics journalist, and I am the author of Machiavelli for Women: Defend Your Worth, Grow Your Ambition, and Win the Workplace. And for this book, I did a ton of research into negotiations and the pay gap and the promotion gap and all the things that hold women and people of color back in negotiations. And there are, as it turns out, a few cases in which it can be really useful to name the number first. So consider throwing out the number first if, number one, you are asking for a raise. In this case, chances are you know pretty much what you should be getting paid. If you don't, it's time to do some homework, ask colleagues, ask former colleagues, have a number in your head of what would make you happy, add 5, maybe 10,000 to that in your ask, just to give them some room to move, because it's important that they feel successful in the negotiation too. But in that case, it's good to just anchor the discussion. So anchoring is a very powerful phenomenon in a salary negotiation. And basically what it means is whoever throws out the number first kind of sets the tone for the conversation. So if you walk into a job and let's say you want $70,000, you know that's fair, you've talked to people in similar jobs, and let's say you walk into that negotiation and the employer says, well, the most we're prepared to offer for this position is 50. Suddenly you're on such a back foot. All the research you've done, all of the emotions you put into this negotiation suddenly feel so knocked back. So that is the power of anchoring, and one of the reasons why it can be really good for you to name the number first in certain situations. Situation number 2 is if you know more about how much you should be paid than the person offering you the job, which sounds weird, but I saw this a lot during the heyday of the podcast bubble. All these companies were starting podcasts. Most of them had no idea how much work went into a podcast, what the positions even did. It was like a very new business for them. They had no idea what a person should be paid. And I heard about all these offers that were really, really low. So if you want to prevent this, you can throw out a number, like maybe add 10, 15,000 to it, just to anchor the discussion. Like, listen, I, would expect to be getting $75,000 or $80,000 for this position, just to kind of inform them. You are informing them and helping to anchor the conversation in a place where you want it to be. So what do you do if you kind of fall in between categories, or you're just not sure if you're in a situation where it will be to your advantage to throw out the first number? I think if you've done a lot of research, if you have a really good idea of what you should be paid and what the range is, I would consider throwing out the number first, actually, because lowballing happens so commonly to women and to people of color and to other marginalized workers. If you are a marginalized worker, it can be really helpful to throw out a high anchor that can really help focus the discussion. Is there a risk there? Yeah, there is a risk. So weigh that too. How much do you need this job, etc. The other thing that you can say in the scenario like we saw before of the what are your salary expectations, you can say something like, well, I can tell you my current job pays me very well. I'm quite happy with my compensation, but I am really interested in this job and very excited about it. What is the range that you're offering for this job? And if the range is much lower than you expected, I did a video on what to do if you get a lowball offer that is in my feed lower down. And happy negotiating.